Last week in my SummerSlam review, I talked about how I really liked 3-hour pay-per-views, and I liked how we're back to having 3-hour pay-per-views. But WWE Payback 2020 wasn't even 3 hours. It was 2 hours and 32 minutes. Literally 2:32. Very short show, but not a bad show. I feel like the shorter a show is, the more kind of it brisks by, and this show was a breeze to watch. It was very easy to watch, and nothing felt like it was going too long or took too much time, even though it was a week after SummerSlam. You know, back in the day when pay-per-views would be at full price, doing this would be a nightmare. WWE did it for Tuesday in Texas the first time back in 91, and it didn't work. It just wasn't really a good success. But nowadays with the network, even though there's a few people who don't have the network and actually still pay for the pay-per-views like over pay-per-view, believe it or not, there's some folks who do that. Not many, but they're out there. It's still a little bit more feasible to do now. So the big story coming out of this show, well, there's a couple of big stories actually. It was a pretty newsworthy show for it being very short. First of all, the most shocking moment of the night was Keithley and Randy Orton. Keithley defeats Randy Orton clean. 1, 2, 3 in the middle with the Spirit Bomb. Out of nowhere for the pin. Out of nowhere. I was not expecting this to happen. I was expecting Orton to win so that he can get a rematch against Drew. But Keith Lee, 1, 2, 3 in the middle of the ring, pinned Randy Orton, and not in a very long match. This is not a half-hour match. I think it went about 6, 7 minutes, maybe even less than that. And it was good while it lasted. And I was saying, wow, like, this is how you make a star. This is how you really make a star, by having him beat a star clean 1, 2, 3 in the middle. And Keith Lee, tonight, if they show this on replay, he was a made man. And kudos to Randy Orton for putting him over, man. Randy Orton, you know, a professional, did a great job. The other big story of the night would be the main event, no holds barred triple threat match. The Universal Champion Bray Wyatt, the Fiend, against Braun Strowman, and now the new top heel on SmackDown, Roman Reigns. Pro Wrestling Insider, PWInsider.com, reported that Roman Reigns is going to be the top heel now with Paul Heyman on SmackDown, and we saw them together Friday night. Now, on this show, as if that wasn't enough proof that Roman's going to be a heel, during the first, maybe, I don't know, the first 2/3 of this match, Roman wasn't even out there. It was Bray Wyatt and Braun Strowman beating the crap out of each other with weapons and all kinds of stuff. So what happens is they do the top rope superplex spot where the ring broke. We've seen this a couple times in the past. The first time was with Brock Lesnar and The Big Show. And of course, we also saw it with Mark Henry and The Big Show. And I think Braun Strowman did it one other time, I believe, but I forget. So the ring broke, and then Roman comes out, signs his contract on the way to the ring, and gets in the ring and tries to get the cheap pin, doesn't get it, managed to go ahead and spear Braun Strowman, and then gets the 1, 2, 3. So Roman Reigns is the new Universal Champion, and like I said, the top heel on SmackDown. I have to do a whole video on Roman Reigns as a heel because I have thoughts on it. You know what I mean? I don't think it's a bad move, just a surprising one. Because remember, John Cena was the chosen one for a very long time, and then they went in and decided to, you know, make Roman Reigns the chosen one after Cena had his time. And people wanted Cena to go heel for a very long time, and they never did it. But with Roman, they seem to be a lot more confident, maybe because they realized that Roman may not be the chosen one anymore, which I did make a video about already, which I'll cover that. And I'm going to make a separate video probably this week talking about Roman Reigns as a heel and my thoughts on it. Also, Rey and Dominic against Seth Rollins and Buddy Murphy was a really fun match. I've got to give credit to Dominic. I mean, look, I know he's Eddie Guerrero's son. I can't say it without a straight face. But, you know, this guy, I didn't think he'd be able to really... I was wondering. I wasn't doubting him, but I was wondering if he could hang. And he definitely has the ability to hang. Now, obviously, he's surrounded by great workers. Buddy Murphy's a great worker. Seth Rollins is a great worker. Rey Mysterio's a legend. I mean, you know, that's unquestionable. So, when you surround yourself with great talent and you're at least decent, you can make it work. But I do think that Dominic Mysterio, for a rookie, is doing pretty well. And the Mysterio family won. So the feud is going to continue. I don't think this is the end of the feud. I think this will continue. And the real story here is just the fact that Dominic did so well in this tag team match working with his father. I mean, that's kind of cool. You get to work with your dad. I mean, We saw that. We've seen that for years. I mean, Brett worked with Stu and David Flair worked with Ric Flair. There's always, obviously the Von Erichs work with Fritz. It's always cool to see that, The other, I guess, somewhat big story, even though I don't think it was that big of a story, is that Nia Jax and Shayna Basler beat Sasha and Bayley to win the WWE Women's Tag Team Championship. The whole purpose behind this was to continue the build-up to the Sasha Banks and Bayley split. Obviously, last week at SummerSlam, I can't believe I'm saying last week. It's only been a week since the last pay-per-view. They had the match where Asuka did not beat Bayley, but did beat Sasha for her title, and Bayley did not help Sasha. So this will continue that breakup. I don't know how I feel about Shayna Baszler and Nia Jax as a team. I do like Shayna Baszler. Nia Jax, not so much. But to me, this is really, like I said, just a continuation of their breakdown. And I feel like eventually when Bayley loses her title, I think that'll be the actual catalyst for the explosion, unless they go with Sasha chasing Bayley for her title, which could also work. I mean, there's different ways to do it. I just feel like this has been going on for quite some time now, and just get to it already. Then we have Matt Riddle and King Corbin. Really, what surprised me about this show, if I'm being honest, is that you had a lot of the up-and-coming talent. Matt Riddle, he's not so fresh off of NXT like Keithley is, but he is an NXT guy, right, mostly. He defeats King Corbin, a guy who was very protected for the past 2 years. King Corbin did not lose many matches, guys. So for Matt Riddle to beat him is a pretty big deal. And then we have Keithley beating Randy Orton. So getting new talent over is something WWE is trying to do now, and we have to respect them for it. We have to. Another guy who's getting over is Big E. There's some people now saying that Big E might get the Kofi Kingston push to where he may end up being the guy to eventually become WWE champion. I think it's too soon to say that. I think Big E Langston has always had a lot of charisma, without question. And I was there in FCW when he first started, and he got off to a rough start. But they really seem to be pushing him now, and I'm okay with that. I mean, the guy's got charisma, he's got size, has a very unique look, and he's likable. And he's also a really good charitable guy. So I think if you're going to put the company behind Big E, I think that's an effective strategy, even though I feel like Keith Lee might have a bit more of an upside. Again, it just depends. You could actually push them both, and I don't see that being an issue at all. And the reason why I say that is because, Big E and Keith Lee have both been guys who people are saying are spotlit to being the next top guy. But Big E's been there longer, and Keith Lee's more of a fresh kind of face, So we'll see what they do with it. Matt Riddle, I think, probably should get a push to the top, but will he? That's the question. The only other match that there is to discuss is Bobby Lashley won the U.S. title from Apollo Crews. I really don't care. I'm sorry. I don't care about the U.S. title picture. I think MVP is very entertaining in his role, but I don't really give a damn about the U.S. title picture right now. Like Apollo Crews, I appreciate the push they're giving him, or they gave him, but it kind of came out of nowhere after the guy was pretty much a joke for a long time. And now Lashley's back in the U.S. title picture, and he's the champion now, so fine. I mean, I can't complain. To me, the big story of the night was that Keith Lee beat Randy Orton. That's the big story of the night, and of course the title change, the Universal title change. To me, this show was interesting because it wasn't just a bunch of rematches from the last pay-per-view. You had some different stuff here. You had different titles being defended. It sort of felt kind of like what they did with WrestleMania with the 2-night thing, except it was a week apart. So not quite the same thing, but different, but similar. Okay, so anyways, with that being said, that's it. I'm going to close out this video. Overall, this show, it was not a bad show. It was an easy 2.5 hours. Fun show, quick to watch. Nothing too crazy happened to me as far as like crazy bumps or crazy turns or anything like that. But still, an easy to watch show, and I can't complain about it. 2.5 hours, nice and short. They would have needed to entertain me for 2.5 hours, and that's what matters. Thank you. Let me know what you thought about Payback 2020, and I'll talk to you next time.